Secret Service. I just follow what they'd like to do. So I go by Secret Service and the military. They wanted me to go on a different flight, a different plane, equal safety, but they wanted me to do it, so I do it. I do what they say.
Why did they want you to do that?
I guess there was a threat out there. I didn't really ask too much about it. I get a lot of threats.
Why was it too dangerous for you to fly on Air Force One, but not too dangerous for the press?
Actually the plane that I flew on was at greater risk.
Why do you say that?
Because that would be the plane I think that they would be more likely to go for.
Were you worried about a shoulder-fired missile?
I don't worry about anything, to be honest. Whatever it is, you know my attitude, whatever.
At 7:54 p.m., preparations get underway at the Ankara airport to execute the subterfuge. You can see in this video, airport catering trucks begin getting into position at the side of the blue and white Legacy Air Force One that Trump said he was using to return to Washington. At 8:24 p.m., Trump's motorcade arrives to the tarmac. As it speeds towards Air Force One, another smaller plane, a C-32A, is parked nearby. This shot is the best vantage of how the two planes are positioned on the tarmac. As the motorcade rounds the corner, you can see the two catering trucks at the side of the jumbo jet lifted up on hydraulics to doors on the right side of the plane. A few minutes later, Trump climbs the staircase and waves before entering his cabin. You can see the catering truck right there beneath the fuselage. At the back of the plane, reporters and staff line up to get on board. Once they're in their seats, the Secret Service tells them to keep their window shades down. Agents even come to the cabin, which faces out toward the smaller C-32A, to make sure all the shades are lowered. And this is when the shell game begins. A U.S. official says Trump was whisked off the plane and into a waiting catering truck. At 8:28 p.m., you can see a man in a suit climbing into the truck's cab. The container is lowered and the truck pulls out a minute later. The truck drives away from the bigger plane across the tarmac and pulls up to the C-32A. By zooming in, you can see it right there behind the engines. A person in a suit steps out of the cab, walks to the stairs, and gets on board. The bigger plane, now without the president on board, takes off at 8:44 p.m., passing right past the smaller plane with Trump inside. The smaller plane taxis away a minute later. As for the third plane, the Boeing 747 donated by Qatar, which Trump has been using in the U.S. and actually flew to Turkey on, it departed a few hours earlier, which can be seen here with the other two planes. Trump claimed at the time he wanted to show it off to troops in England. Flight tracking data shows that former Qatari jet landed at Mildenhall Air Force Base in the United Kingdom at 6:26 p.m. local time. It bore the call sign SAM-33, short for Special Air Mission. 40 minutes later, the Legacy Air Force One plane, the blue and white one, appears on radar near Istanbul with no call sign. Tracking data shows that as it flies over Romania, the plane begins using the call sign AF-1 for Air Force One, though the president was not on board. It lands at Mildenhall at around 10:29 p.m. local time. The smaller plane, the one Trump is actually on, doesn't show up on publicly available flight trackers, but video from YouTube shows it landing at Mildenhall at around the same time as the bigger plane. We don't know exactly how Trump moved from the smaller plane to the bigger one, but it took about 20 minutes for reporters to get off the plane once it had touched down, plenty of time for President Trump to sneak back on board. By 10:56 p.m., Trump can be seen descending the stairs of the Legacy Air Force One, this time in view of the cameras. He walked across the tarmac slowly back to the Qatar jet for the flight home to Washington. On the way home, he was asked about some of the unusual security precautions.
Because you're probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleaze bags that we have to deal with. But if I go, you go, right?
But was there a specific
perhaps someday you want to change professions.
You're saying there wasn't a security concern?
No. Why would they?
Do you know why they had us close our window blinds? That was unusual.
Because you're probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleaze bags that we have to deal with.
So you think that Iran was possibly thinking of trying
if they asked you to close your windows, probably they feel that way. They didn't ask me to close mine, but if they did, I would have done it.
I was accompanying President Donald Trump on Air Force One when he was flying from Turkey to England. And as we approached the aircraft on the tarmac in the motorcade, I looked up, and for the first time I saw catering vehicles up against Air Force One. I have never seen that before in all my 20 years of working for the AP and more years beyond that covering presidents. I photographed that as much as I possibly could because I thought that was so unusual. Now reporting tells us that those catering vehicles allowed the president to walk on Air Force One and then walk off the plane into the catering vehicles and be taken to a second plane using the aircraft we were on as a decoy aircraft.
I've been on many international trips with presidents, and you typically expect the president to be on the plane with you. But in this instance, President Trump and some of his aides, after they boarded the Air Force One, were secretly taken off the plane through a back door into a catering compartment that is usually used to deliver food and other supplies to the plane. They were then driven to a smaller government plane that flew them all to the United Kingdom. There have been questions about the safety of the new Air Force One that was a gift from Qatar. Intelligence officials, according to reports in the New York Times and CBS News, were concerned about a potential attack on the president or the new jet. So Trump made a surprise announcement that the Air Force One that was a gift from Qatar would fly without him to a military base in the United Kingdom, which was a sign that something unusual was afoot.
So I could see something like that. I didn't know they did that, but I could see something like that.
Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran against your
Well, I have a
One?
threat all the time. I'm number one on their list.
大家好，我是主播林家远。生活压力大，失眠、浅眠是现代人常见的烦恼。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌现在进一步推出晚安加强版，添加天然GABA、色氨酸、茶氨酸、香蜂草4大天然草本。选择太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，做好日常保养，身体轻松无负担。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good。请上快点购为健康下单，输入推荐码有额外折扣。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版，新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。